So get yourself super comfortable in sitting. You don't have to sit upright in a meditative position, not yet, not tonight, at the moment. We often do a lot of reflection, looking back at what's happened and what we remember. And what I want you to do tonight is to look forwards. But to do that fully, what I want you to do first of all is look back a little bit, right? So I want you to reflect really quite gently around what the last few years have been like, 4 or 5 years. There's a lot in that, of course. There's a lot going on. A lot of change, a lot of management of change, a lot of really powerful coping strategies for some of us. You know, we've had to deal with things. So I want you to look back over this last 4 or 5 years and just catch those key moments of in big change, bigger change, the things that are poignant, things that are emotionally, psychologically, financially, in any way, poignant and powerful. And you can do it with your eyes closed. You can do a little mental journey back into the past to consider. You know, there's all sorts of complexities that we've had to deal with. Changes for some of us in the way we work, changes in terms of how we live, changes in education for our children, or lots and lots of changes. And then again, changes in terms of, for example, once the pandemic was over, some kind of, I wouldn't say return to normal, because that's not what it was and not what it is. It's something else. It's a different way of being, a different way of being in the world based on what has happened. So let your body do the reflection for a little bit longer. Wonderful, that will do. And take a breath in through your nose, through your mouth, any way that feels right to you. And breathe out. And let the past go. Let it go for a moment just with the breath. Ah, really good. One more breath like this. Ah. And I want you now to, however you do it, put your hands on your body, pat yourself on the back, whatever it is. I want you to actively celebrate your incredible change management skills, your incredible coping skills for dealing with what you've had to deal with. And do that for a full 30 seconds. Keep doing it. Don't stop doing it, because this is really worthy. It's really deserving. Congratulate yourself. I congratulate you. I congratulate you for managing change and for being with what needs to happen in as powerful and as beautiful way as you possibly could, with all the skills available to you at that time. Great. Well done. Just close your eyes for a moment. And feel into your body. And resting your attention into your belly as much as you can. I want you to think. So this is a belly-based thinking, if you like. We've got the attention in the belly, but we're going to be thinking as well. We're doing cognitive activity as well. And I want you to think about all the resources you have available to you. Be able to manage change. And to identify them really clearly. Enumerate them on your fingers if you want to, of one or both hands. Whether it's organizational skills, whether it's patience, whether it's conscious breathwork strategies, whether it's reframing mind strategies, whether it's compassion, kindness for yourself and others. Think of all the different kinds of resources that you've had available to you, community, family, friends. And when you've got a rough idea of some of these resources, there will be others you haven't thought about. Ones that you may take for granted, but they're there. What I want you to do is to come back into your body, into your belly, just land in your belly, bring your attention out of your head now, completely down to the belly again, and feel the belly expand with the breath. Bring your attention to the movement of the belly, and to the movement of the air in and out of the nose. Let the breath be as slow as is comfortable. And I want you to feel the change right now in the breath, in the movement of the body. Feel the changes, the flow, the cycles of the inhalation and the exhalation. The change in texture and feel, the change in the movement of the belly. And stay with the experience of change happening. Stay with change. And as you feel the change, if you feel the movement of the belly, movement in the intestines maybe, start to notice other sensations in the body, wherever they are. And start to register these as change. And any flickering or wavering of attention in your mind, this is also change. And right now, as you're here, whether you want it to or not. Your hair is going to go or head towards being that little bit grayer. This body is already aging, regardless of how young it is, regardless of how young it feels. Aging doesn't necessarily mean feeling bad. It just means aging. Be aware of the skin cells flaking off and falling into the air, drifting away, floating off into the room. And as you breathe, let the whole body be change. We often focus on the change outside. I was in the park today and the leaves were quite exquisite. It's external change. It's so beautiful. But like the autumnal leaves, let the body be like this too for a moment in your own perceptual space. This itself is also, like the autumn leaves, change, in the process of change. Wonderful. Now, like many of us, I certainly make plans. I was doing it a couple of minutes ago. There's the beginnings of a plan for next year. Look, January, February, March, April, May, etc. Thinking about where and what I might be doing in terms of teaching. It's a plan. It's preempting the future and assuming that, one, it's going to continue in some shape or form for me personally. Secondly, that I know a little bit about what it might contain, and that whatever I plan might even come to fruition. Now, of course, sometimes these things do come to fruition. Sometimes I plan things and they happen, which is amazing. And sometimes I plan things and they don't. And sometimes I plan things and they kind of happen and then they kind of do something else. All the possibilities are available. So what I invite you to do, and you can take part in this entirely your own will, okay, because this is, I want you to be clear in your beauty, clear in your sense of self, with no self, comfortable and strong in who you are before we begin this game. So if you feel like this in this way, then what I invite you to do is to imagine the future. And imagine it in the worst possible scenario, your nightmare future. Coming up to Halloween, maybe it's okay to do this now. Your nightmare future. What's the worst things? And just don't have to go there if you don't want to. And I want you to do this for 30 seconds. It's not pleasant. We have to be very strong in ourselves so we don't fall into superstitious magical thinking. If I think this thing like this, then it will happen. That kind of thing. So we need to avoid that superstitious magical thinking, which tends to come out of a place where we haven't yet fully grown up. We're still doing this childish, childlike superstition. That's enough of that. I know that's not pleasant, is it? Some of it can be really horrifying when the mind conjures up a nightmare scenario. But what I want you to do now is just shake your head and jaw. Okay. And you're going to repeat a Tibetan mantra with me. And it goes very simply like this. It goes, it's spelled P-H-A-T. And it goes, like that. And I want you to explode that visualization with the mantra, pot, like that. So it's dissolved completely, none of it left. Wonderful. Now, what I want you to do, I invite you to do, is to create a golden future, golden, beautiful future where everything you want to happen comes into place with grace and ease and delight. And whatever you dream up that is beautiful and that serves you happens. All your best dreams. Let's do this for 40 to 50 seconds. Maybe even a minute. Yeah, let's do this for a minute. All the good things that you want. Wonderful. And given we're not doing superstition tonight, what I want you now to do, invite you to do, is to dissolve that with the mantra pat. Pat. Just explode that visualization as well for now. And then come back to the breath. Feel this breath flowing. Feel the changes in it. Feel the sensations in the body. The infinity of change. You must have heard that awful joke about Buddha going to the hot dog vendor. And the hot dog vendor says to Buddha, what would you like with, what would you like? And Buddha says, make me one with everything. The burger man laughs and says, that'll be $2.50. And the Buddha gives him $3. And the man doesn't do anything. He sits there and looks at him. And the Buddha says, where's my change? And he said, don't you know the change comes from within? It's bad, isn't it? Anyway, feel this flowing change. Great stuff. And then gently open your eyes if they're closed and hold up two hands like this, two hands. I invite you to notice, first of all, the kind of emotion or feeling or sensation that occurred when you dreamt up those two possible futures. And here they are in your hands now, if you hold your hands up, two possible futures. One's the kind of nightmare future, whichever hand you want that one in. And the other one's this golden, radiant future, whichever hand you want that in. And see if you can recreate them again, because it's all mental creation here. That's what we're doing, right? So if you can recreate them again, put one in one hand and then one in the other hand. And notice if you can, because we've been feeling into the belly, the visceral quality of what this is like. Anybody who's lived on planet Earth long enough knows that everything isn't always rosy. Everything isn't always good. There are always complexities. There are life challenges as well. So what I'm going to get you to do now is to turn those palms towards each other and gently squash those two futures in towards each other like this. Again, that might be quite uncomfortable. No! Yeah. Just push them in towards each other. Bring the polarities in closer and closer as you breathe, as you pay attention. Push the golden future and the nightmare future in towards each other. And then open the palms up and blow them both away. Done. We don't know what the future holds. Nobody does. From time to time, there's people like Nostradamus or somebody who come up with these really complicated visions of what the future might hold. Science fiction writers, H.G. Wells or somebody. Yeah. Come back into your breath as it is. Check into your belly and your heart space, and I'll tell you a little story. Round about, this planet's been around in 4.5 billion years. The inception of the planet was around about that time. The universe is around 12 to 13 billion years old. So the universe was already 8 billion years old when the Earth was born. In the early phase of the planet, as it cooled and the volcanoes calmed down a little bit and the oceans condensed, little microscopic life grew in the warm oceans and around the hot volcanic vents in the ocean, fumaroles. And it took around about 4 billion years for anything more complicated than a single cell to evolve on this planet. But around about 500 million years ago, 500 million years ago, there was a massive explosion in life form. This was because of oxygen. Because oxygen had been made by the green single-celled life form to the degree where it could be utilized to break down substances and release huge amounts of energy in comparison to what had been available before. Both of those two things, the arrival of green life and the utilization of oxygen to release energy, are both, in a cosmic sense, miracles. Astounding, low probability events that happened here on planet Earth. So first of all, take a moment to just let those reflect through your system, the incredible, and I mean incredible, event, a little bacterium using processes that had been originally evolved to deal with ultraviolet light. And its complexities, ultraviolet light can be quite damaging. Repurposing those to capture sunlight and join together water and carbon dioxide and make sugar. This was the beginning of green life. And the mitochondria that was engulfed or invaded a cell, probably engulfed, they just stayed in there. And this is the beginning of all complicated life, everything complex like fungi, plants, and animals that use oxygen for releasing energy from chemical bonds. These two incredible events, out of which you are now sitting here listening to this story. This is an ancestral story. And there came a point in time where these living creatures could accumulate cells rather than just being single cell. They joined together into complex arrays of cells. And one of them eventually evolved into having a gut. And a gut is such a phenomenal thing because it has a front and a back. There's a front and a back. It's not just radial like a jellyfish or starfish. It has a front and a back. And at the front is the entrance where stuff can go in. At the back is the exit where stuff can come out. And that little thing can then move in a direction which we can call forwards. This is really, really important because you still have this directionality to your existence. And what we tend to do is to think of the future as forwards and the past as behind us and backwards. So just for a moment, allow your perceptions of time as a linear event to be vibrator a little bit looser. Stay with the breath. One of the interesting developments in quantum physics is looking at particles whereby we can locate them, but they might also have a place in the future. It's a trans-temporal experience of quantum physics, of particulate energy, which means the future might be already here. It's not something and the future begins in us a long time before it happens. Take a breath, feel the breath. So this gut, this forward and backward line that we also inherit, what came with this was a nervous system, because this little thing crawling around needed to sense the environment around it. What's in front, what's around, what's behind. And it needed to move towards things that could offer food, shelter, light, if it needed light, whatever it needed, and move away from things that were toxic or hostile, whether it's something that's going to eat it, or particularly noxious chemicals, or anything, too much ultraviolet light. So the nervous system developed sensory capacities and the two directions of moving towards that which is beautiful, that which is good, and away from that which is perceived as hostile or threatening. Accelerate your breath a little bit. Make your breath a little bit faster and a little fuller. And realize and feel into your own gut, because this is the gut brain we're talking about. It's the enteric nervous system that we inherit from these worms. It's early life. And all of our emotions and our cognitive processes are built upon the foundation of the enteric nervous system, with its away from and towards orientation. We all have things we want to move away from. We all have things we want to move towards. There's nothing wrong with this. Keep the breath a little faster for now. See if you can increase your heartbeat rate with it. And stop now, just relax it. Notice the change that relaxes. Notice your heartbeat rate, feel into it. Feel heartbeat pumping blood around the body, carrying oxygen to every cell, carrying carbon dioxide from every cell. And as you feel into the heartbeat pumping these blood gases around, I want you to understand and feel that they are made by plants. They really are made by plants. This is plants' energy, the cellular secretions, the chemical secretions of plants moving through your blood. And the intimacy of that. The inescapable intimacy. And as you're doing this, feel the mitochondria that are using that oxygen. Remember, they were a separate bacterium, and feel the inescapable intimacy of your livingness with bacteria. They were bacteria 3.5, 3.8 million years ago or so. Same kind of bacteria that live around your kitchen sink nowadays. And then feel the microbiome on in your gut. This gut that has these moving towards and pulling away is full of trillions of little beasts, little beings, little living things, which enable you to digest, enable this living experience, enable you to stay well. Maybe put your hand on your belly and communicate with those little bugs in there, those little beings, little life forms. And as you do that, feel the trillions of living things on your skin that give you immunity, that enable you to survive. A small change in body temperature and fungi would grow all over you. They don't. We're vulnerable, fragile, unique, beautiful, mortal, utterly connected to everything. Mortal, fragile, unique, and the universe, inseparable all at once. And if you want to hold your breath from time to time, hold your breath. Sometimes that's the right thing to do in the face of awe and wonder. Now, these two movements of energy of the gut brain to weigh towards, when it comes into how we look at the future, they create manufactured scenarios, and one is called hope, and the other one is called fear. Raise your hands again, bring them up in front of you with your eyes open. Look at these two hands and remember how you created one scenario of fear and one scenario of hope. Everything you want, everything you don't want. Feel into your breath. Feel into your guts and the gut brain. Remember those. I mean, when I do this, I hate doing this, by the way. When you get this scenario of the future that's just a nightmare, notice the gut response to this. And when you notice the future that's just golden, notice the gut response to this. This is your gut talking. Really feel it. Now we know we've just created hope and fear here. Hope has to come with fear. Fear comes with hope. What do we find when we let them both go? And blow them away like you did. Come. What's left? And if an answer jumps up into your mind as to what's left, then maybe ask the question again. Feel into your belly, feel into your heart, feel into the center of your head. There's a unified experience of center. Bring that down to your pelvic floor on the earth if that works for you, and up to the crown if that feels good. Cultivate this unified experience of center, the center of, or the locus of this livingness in a physical kind of kinesthetic sense. In the middle of all of that, the heart space, the center of the chest, the center of the center. Just rest your attention in the center of the center and let your breath do whatever it needs to do to enable or to facilitate a deeper experience of this center. It's the center of all the centers that we talk about, whether it's the pelvic floor, the belly, the navel, the heart, throat, the head, the crown, whatever. The center of all of this is the heart space. And get a now sense of expanding this heart space like it's some kind of horizontal disc or something like that, where you, every inhale and every exhale gives a sense of expansion. Give it luminosity or color if you want to. And as you do this, I want you to remember again the little journey you did for those few minutes, going back into the past and looking at all the changes that occurred. And how beautifully and how resourcefully you handled them. And how you congratulated yourself for doing that. Now imagine the future to come. Which is completely unknown. Let it remain unknown for a moment. Just also for a moment, I want you to future pace forwards, like you can leap through space-time, like those quantum particles that might be in two places at once. Leap forward in space-time, 5 years into the future. And imagine looking back on the 5 years that have just elapsed from now, from the here and now to there, which is now your now. And congratulate yourself again for the ways that you've handled the changes that from this perspective here are yet to come, but from the perspective where you're sitting now and the visualization of from where you're sitting have happened. And imagine all the resources that you already had, and those that you've cultivated that are new, that have been cultivated because of the context and the situations in which you've engaged for that 5-year journey. And in that future leap, find in this heart center the compassion for yourself and for all those in your world. That yet have to do this future leap, this journey. But they will. And understand from this heart place that everyone, without exception, regardless of what they look like or what they're doing, that with the resources currently available, everyone is actually doing their best, even though it may not look like it. Hold that awareness for a moment. And then you bring your attention from that future leap and bring it firmly back into the center of this radiant heart disk you just cultivated. Land back in the center of the centers. And deepen your breath until it feels like the center of the centers expands into an orb around you. And acknowledge and recognize that whatever happens, you will do your best. And that whatever happens, you have these beautiful resources and you will use them. And that whatever happens, you will grow new resources and you will have the opportunity to test them and experience them and validate them. And this is beautiful. And in the unknowing, you can relax and let go a little more deeply. Into the face of the unknown. Without having to do the extrapolations of that worm-like intelligence and crafting hope and future as ways to hang a life upon. And instead, you can relax into the center of centers and know full well that you always have done and always will do your best, and that that is more than good enough. And for a moment, let yourself rest just naturally in the body. And this radiant heart disk just come down, dissolve. Just this body. This beautiful body, this beautiful livingness. With its limbs, its forelimbs, its organs, bones and muscles and sinews. Feel this body as change. The flow of change as the body breathes. Feel the change. And allow yourself to be this change, really be this change. And know that this changingness is intimacy and connection to everything. This breath, which changes, connects you to everything. Quantum space within the atoms of your existence connects you into everything, all time, all space. Know this connectedness right now. The incredible beauty of this. Begin to trust this life that you are even more fully, so that you will do your best, and that is more than good enough. Breath in and breathe out. Shake it all off. Oh. Up your hands. Wonderful. How are you doing, my friends?